The thermos clicked when I set it down, a small sound. But in the chamber of petitions, small sounds travel farther than speeches. The Galactic Council built this room 9,000 years ago to make petitioners feel small. They forgot to account for what small sounds do in big rooms. I am sitting 1.7 meters below the main floor. The seat is cold alloy, no cushion. Above me, 847 counselors from 312 species arrange themselves in concentric rings of pale stone balconies, each tier rising higher, each voice carrying farther. The air recyclers were built for methane breathers. The ozone burn at the back of my throat is familiar now. I have tasted it for 47 minutes, or 11 years, depending on how you measure. The vote was already held. Humanity's petition for full council membership, filed 11 years ago, debated for 847 days, has been denied. The IRC spokesperson, a methane breather with 6 vocal chambers, does not even read the formal rejection. It simply projects the result across the chamber. Denied. Grounds. Species 8472 lacks martial tradition. Cultural assessment. Cowardice masquerading as diplomacy. Laughter ripples through the methane tiers. I do not move. My hands rest on a small thermos of jasmine tea brought from Earth. The temperature is 58 degrees now, still warm enough to drink. I do not look up at the balconies. I do not reach for the microphone. I simply breathe. And I count. The official record will log my response time as non-responsive. In reality, I am counting. I have been counting for 11 years. Would you have stayed silent for 11 years? She did. And what she brought, you'll want to hear that. The jasmine had lost its color years ago, but the scent lingered in the seal. A ghost of summer held in vacuum. I planted that tea myself. 11 years earlier in Yunnan province, Earth. My hands were in warm soil. The jasmine cuttings were small enough to hold in one hand. Batch 847, harvested that same month the membership petition was filed. I was on leave from the diplomatic corps. Before anyone understood why the Corps was quietly rotating its best people into agricultural stations. That was year 0 of the Long Patience. The Long Patience was never a military operation. It was a cultural one. 7 humans, selected across 23 years, each unaware of the other's full scope. I was the public face, the coward the galaxy saw, former xenobotanist turned diplomat. I studied alien plants before I learned to sit in rooms built to humiliate me. Dr. Yuki Tanaka was our xenohistorian. She spent 11 years in the council archives, reading every species' unredacted history, the version kept from the general galactic public, the version that showed what cowardice really meant for species who refused to fight on council terms. Captain Elias Voss, retired UN peacekeeper, was our tactical mind. He advised 47 marginal species independence movements, quietly. No flags, no fleets, just advice on how to grow food without council approval. Sister Maria Santos was our cultural infiltrator, a Benedictine nun and linguist. She embedded with the methane breathers for 9 years, learning their unspoken social codes, the things they never wrote down, the things they only said in rooms where humans were not allowed. Dr. Quaim Os published 23 papers on human neural fragility. All of them contained deliberate errors. The Council's medical subcommittee adopted everyone as fact. They now believe humans break under pressure faster than we actually do. This belief has saved lives. Jin Wei ran a galactic trade blog read by 12 billion non-council species. Every article was a coded signal. Prices, shipping routes, crop yields. All of it meant something else to the 47 species who knew how to read it. An old man, Tenzin, 89 years old, the only one of us who remembered Earth before first contact. He grew ducks in a pond behind the embassy. No one had ever asked why. The operations thesis, written by Tanaka in year 3, was simple. The Council does not fear weapons. It fears being understood. I named the operation after a Tibetan meditation practice Tenzin's grandmother taught him. The Long Patience, the practice of sitting still until the mountain moves. The mountain had not moved yet, but I had been planting tea for 11 years. The sunken dais was built by the extinct Vor. They believed authority should literally look down upon petitioners. The pale stone absorbs sound from below and amplifies whispers from above. My platform is not just lowered, it is sunken, surrounded by a moat of polished obsidian that reflects the balconies upward. So I must stare at my own smallness while they tower above. The human delegation's assigned seats, 12 chairs, only 3 occupied, are bolted to the floor. They cannot be moved closer. They cannot be adjusted for human height. The Kethvari designed the furniture standards 2,400 years ago. Humans were not considered. I look at the obsidian. My reflection stares back. A small woman in a chair that does not fit, holding a thermos that does not belong, in a room that was built to forget people like me. The young Kethvari aide drops a data tablet. The sound echoes. I note the aide's crest feathers. Immature, still molting. A child, barely 30 standard years old, watching its elders humiliate a species it has never met. I think of the photograph in my pocket. My niece, age 7, holding a duckling at Tenzin's pond. The niece is 18 now. The duckling is dead. The pond remains. The temperature of my tea is 58 degrees. I have counted to 847 in my head, 1 for every day of debate. The long patience was never a military operation. It was a cultural one, and culture moves slower than war, but it moves. Arbiter Korvek Thren spreads his wingspan. 2.1 meters of iridescent feathers dyed ceremonial gold, the mark of his rank. His beak is filed to bluntness, the Kethvari sign of civilization. His compound eyes have a single forward-facing lens, a surgical modification for what they call diplomatic clarity. His talons are capped in platinum. His voice comes through a 6-channel harmonizer that adds artificial weight to every word. He has logged over 4,000 hours in council humiliation ceremonies. He is 147 standard years old. He has never lost one. They send an unarmed mammal to beg. He broadcasts on the open channel. His harmonizer makes the words sound like thunder. No wonder their world burns so easily. I count his words. 23, a prime number. I find this fitting. I do not look up. I do not react. I count my breaths. In, out. The thermos is warm against my palms. The copper bracelet on my wrist, green with age, was welded by my daughter when she was 9. She is dead now. The bracelet remains. I do not think about her. I count. Korvek's crest feathers rise. Mockery is his only language. He cannot comprehend patience without weakness. He equates silence with submission. This is his flaw. This is why he will fall. Species 8472, he continues, lacks martial tradition. Their cultural assessment reads, cowardice masquerading as diplomacy. The high flock does not recognize petitioners who refuse to fight for their place. I sip my tea. It is 57 degrees now, each degree a year. I count the sip, 846, one more. The methane breather tears ripple with laughter. 6 vocal chambers contracting in unison, making a sound like bubbles rising through deep water. I have heard this sound before. Sister Maria Santos taught me what it means. It is not laughter. It is relief. Relief that they are not the one sitting in the sunken chair. I look at the young aide again. The child is frozen. Its tablet lies on the balcony floor. It does not pick it up. It is watching me, not Korvek me. This is the first wrong thing. Aides do not watch petitioners. They watch their superiors. They learn who to mock by watching who mocks. The child is learning something else. The council believes humanity commands 47 unarmed diplomatic vessels, 12,000 personnel, and 0 military capacity, beyond what they call primitive planetary defense. The Long Patience's actual ledger is different. We have 847 sleeper agents embedded in council infrastructure, not soldiers, clerks, engineers, maintenance workers, people who fix air recyclers and code software and file forms. People the council forgets are people. We have 23 forged cultural assessments, accepted as canonical, that shape how the council sees every non-martial species, including the ones they have already erased. We have given 9 species human agricultural technology that tripled their food independence, not as charity, as leverage. When you can feed yourself, you do not need the council's trade routes. We have recorded 12,000 hours of council sessions, analyzed for behavioral prediction. We know when they will laugh. We know when they will vote. We know when they will look away. But the number that matters is 312, the number of council species, and 47, the number of non-council species humanity has quietly befriended through trade, medicine, and shared meals. No warning, no declaration, no mercy. That was the promise we made to ourselves in year zero, not to the galaxy, to each other. Corvex harmonizer flickers. A brief stutter, barely a second. No one else notices, but I do. I have been watching his equipment for 11 years. The Council's logistics system, maintained by human-coded software installed 9 years ago as a goodwill infrastructure grant, has begun scheduling mandatory maintenance windows every 47 minutes. Right now, it is Corvex's turn. His display, his translator, his harmonizer. All of them will stutter at random intervals for the next 11 hours. He does not know this. He thinks his equipment is failing. He will blame his technicians. He will not blame the software written by humans he forgot existed. I sip my tea, 56 degrees, 845 sips, I count. The smell reaches me first, not the ozone, something else. Warm, yeasty bread. Corvex's beak twitches. His compound eyes narrow. He has never smelled bread. The Kithvari diet is grain-based but processed, sterile. They do not bake. They do not understand what happens when yeast grows. Sister Maria Santos taught the methane breather colonies to cultivate yeast 9 years ago. It started as a cultural exchange program, a gesture of goodwill. The colonies now produce their own bread. They no longer need council supply ships for basic food. The bread is a weapon. The bread is a promise. Corvex looks around, confused. His nostrils, small slits above his beak, flare. "What is that smell?" he asks his aide. The child does not answer. The child is still watching me. The coalition does not arrive with fleets. It arrives with statements. 23 agricultural worlds announce simultaneous embargo of council luxury goods. Not military goods, not food. Luxury. The things the council elite use to mark their status. Silk, rare metals, spices. The embargo is legal, peaceful, and economically devastating. 12 methane breather colonies, not council members but economically vital, declare they will only negotiate trade through human intermediary channels. The council cannot bypass this. The colonies control 34% of the galaxy's methane processing. 7 silicon-based lifeforms, previously dismissed as non-sentient tools, file 847 separate legal challenges to council voting procedures. Each one is procedurally valid. Each one requires 90 days of mandatory review. The council's legal system, designed to handle 12 challenges per year, now faces 847. Corvex's crest feathers flatten, not in mockery, in confusion. He does not understand how this is happening. He is looking at me, at the thermos, at my smallness, and he cannot see the threads. I adjust my copper bracelet. The green metal is cold against my skin. My daughter welded this. She was 9. She wanted to be a diplomat like her mother. She died in the Proxima navigation accident 23 years ago. A council trade vessel miscalculated atmospheric entry. The accident was ruled pilot error. The pilot was promoted. The names were never read aloud. I count to 847 every day. 1 for each name. 1 for each day of debate. 1 for each sip of tea that cools degree by degree. The bracelet is my timer. When the green turns to black, I will know the mountain has moved. Tenzin feeds his ducks at the embassy pond. There are 11 of them now. He names each one after a council species that has never been asked to dinner. I know this because Jinwei's blog mentioned it last week. The duck names were a coded signal. Kithvari meant the Kithvari delegation was vulnerable. Irk meant the methane breather archives were accessible. Vor meant the extinct builders had left something behind that we had found. Tenzin does not know the code. He just likes ducks. That is why we chose him. The best operatives are the ones who do not know they are operatives. The bread smell grows stronger. Sister Maria Santos has returned from the methane colonies. She brings a new recipe and 9 new friends, colonists who learned her name, who learned to bake, who learned that humans do not only take, humans also give. Korvek's harmonizer stutters again, longer this time, 3 seconds of dead air. The methane tears go quiet. The silence is louder than the laughter was. Technical difficulties, Korvek says. His voice is still thunder, but the thunder is cracking. A minor systems adjustment. The hive flock does not adjust to interruptions. He is lying. He knows he is lying. The child on the balcony knows he is lying. I can see it in the way the young aide's crest feathers twitch. A Kethvari tell. Fear, not mockery. I sip my tea. 55 degrees. 844 I count. Elder Irk 7 has said nothing for 6 years. Not a word. Not a sound from its 6 vocal chambers. It is 340 years old. A methane breather archivist. It has read humanity's complete history, including the redacted centuries. It understands what cowardice actually means for a species that survived 2 world wars, 7 nuclear standoffs, and 12,000 years of tribal violence to choose diplomacy. Irk 7 has moved its archival access codes, slowly, deliberately, into Tanaka's hands. I do not know when Tanaka received the last code. I do not know if she is alive. I have not seen her in 4 years. The long patience works in isolation. Each of us knows our part. None of us knows the whole. But I know this. Irk 7 is watching me now from the methane tears. Its translucent membrane body shifts slightly. A small movement. No one notices. I do. It is adjusting its position, preparing to speak. This is the second wrong thing. Archivists do not speak in council sessions. They observe. They record. They do not intervene. Irk 7 is about to intervene. The display behind Korvek flickers. Not his harmonizer this time. The main chamber display. The one that shows voting results, cultural assessments, species profiles. The one controlled by human-coded software, maintained for 9 years as a diplomatic courtesy. It flickers again, then it goes dark. Korvek turns. His wingspan brushes the aide who stumbles back. The child catches itself on the balcony rail. Its immature crest feathers flare. Fear, real fear. What is happening? Korvek demands. His harmonizer makes the words shake. Restore the display. This is a council session. There are protocols. The display does not restore. Instead, it changes. A single line of text appears. White on black, simple, direct. Archival access code, Irk 7, clearance unrestricted. File request, redacted species histories. Status, downloading. Korvek's beak opens, closes, opens again. No sound comes out. His harmonizer is silent. The methane tears erupt. Not laughter this time. Confusion. 6 vocal chambers making sounds that have no translation. Sister Maria Santos taught me this too. It is the sound of a species that has never been told no. Irk 7 speaks once, on the open channel. Its methane tones are translated into the common tongue by the same software that is now downloading files it was never supposed to access. They did not bring weapons, Irk 7 says. Its voice is old, older than Korvek, older than the chamber. They brought memory. The council has never survived memory. The redacted histories begin to scroll. I do not look at the display. I look at Korvek. His crest feathers, the gold-dyed plumage of his rank, are flat against his skull. Terror, not mockery. I have never seen a Kethvari's feathers flat, not in 11 years of sitting in this chair. The histories show what the council has buried. Every war crime, every genocide, every coward species exterminated for refusing to fight on council terms. The Kethvari's own ancestors appear first. 4,000 years ago, before they grew wings, before they filed their beaks to bluntness, before they dyed their feathers gold. They were listed as non-martial and culturally deficient. They were given 90 days to comply. They complied. The council erased the record, but Irk 7 kept the originals. Korvek's talons click against the balcony rail. Once, a nervous tell no one has ever seen. Then stillness. I look at the young aide. The child is frozen. Its tablet is still on the floor. Its crest feathers are flat just like its superiors. It is 30 years old enough to understand, young enough to remember. And then the child speaks. For the first time, a whisper into Korvek's ear. The harmonizer does not pick it up, but I can read beak movements. I have studied Kethvari for 11 years. Sir, the histories, they mention us. Not the Kethvari. Us. The child sees itself in the record. The child recognizes its own ancestors in the list of the erased. This is the moment everything changes. Not when the histories scroll, not when Irk 7 speaks, when a child learns that its power was built on bones, and that bones remember. I stand, my knees ache. I have been sitting for 67 minutes. The tea is finished. 847 sips. I counted everyone. The chamber is silent. The methane tiers are silent. The balconies are silent. 312 species, 847 counselors, and one small woman with an empty thermos. I do not raise my voice. I do not activate the microphone. In the silence of the chamber, my unamplified voice carries perfectly because the council has stopped making noise. I speak one sentence. You called us cowards. We called you neighbors. Both of us were wrong. Then I smile, not triumphant, not cruel. The smile of someone who has finally stopped waiting. I walk to the edge of the sunken dais. My reflection in the obsidian moat does not look small now. It looks like a woman who has finished counting. I step across the moat. The obsidian is cold beneath my feet, colder than the seat, colder than the air. I place the empty thermos on the council's central dais. Inside, wrapped in thermal insulation, is a data chip. 847 names. The Proxima colonists, the ones who died in the unfortunate navigation accident, the ones whose accident was ruled pilot error. The pilot was promoted. The names were never read aloud. But the chip holds more than Proxima victims. It holds 12 more names. The 12 long patience operatives who died of old age during the operation. Tenzin's wife, Tanaka's mentor, Voss's daughter, who never knew why her father disappeared for 11 years. And one more name, the name I do not speak, the name I count to every night, the name on the copper bracelet. Aisha Voss, age 7, Proxima Colony. I press the dried jasmine flower into the obsidian moat. It does not float. It does not sink. It simply stays, a pale star on black glass, while 312 species learn what patience looks like when it stops waiting. The names take 4 minutes to read. No one interrupts. The acoustics carry. The chamber was built to make humans small. It was never built to handle human patience once it stops waiting. Korvek does not speak. His harmonizer is silent. His platinum-capped talons click once more against the balcony rail. Then nothing. He is already dead. Not physically. Politically. His worldview has collapsed. The high flock will disown him in 23 days. The reform movement will begin with the child who whispered on the balcony. But Korvek does not know this yet. He only knows that the room smells like bread, and that the bread was baked by a nun. And that the nun learned to bake from methane breathers, who learned from humans, who learned from grandmothers on a planet the council calls primitive. He knows that he has lost. He does not yet know how completely. I finish the last name. The chamber is still silent. The display continues to scroll. 312 species reading their own buried histories. 47 non-council species forwarding the files through channels the council cannot censor. The logistics system scheduling maintenance windows every 47 minutes. The legal challenges piling up. The embargoes holding. The mountain has moved. I look at the young aide one last time. The child is crying. Kethvari do not cry like humans. Their eyes secrete a thin film that hardens into resin. But I know grief when I see it. I have been practicing grief for 11 years. The child will remember this. The child will grow up. The child will lead the reform movement that erases the high flock and builds something new. I will not live to see it, but I do not need to see it. I only need to know that the child was here, that the child saw, that the child will remember. Irk 7's membrane shifts. It is not done. The archivist is watching the display, watching the scroll, watching 9,000 years of buried truth surface in a room built to hide it. It will die in 12 years, content, its archival codes the most famous leak in galactic history. But that is later. This is now. I walk back across the obsidian moat. My reflection follows me. It does not look small anymore. The thermos sits on the central dais. The jasmine flower sits beside it. The data chip has been read. The names have been spoken. The long patience is over. But I know, as I walk toward the chamber doors, that the longer patience is only beginning. The bread is still warm. The ducks are still paddling. And somewhere in a pond behind an embassy, an old man is feeding a duck named Kethvari, waiting to ask if they understood. I do not speak immediately. I let the silence hold. I have waited 11 years for this moment. A few more seconds will not matter. The 847 counselors are watching me. The child on the balcony is watching me. Irk 7's membrane has gone still. Even Korvek, his crest feathers still flat, has turned his compound eyes toward the sunken dais. I look down at the thermos in my hands. The metal is cold now. The tea is gone. But the jasmine flower, brittle and dry, is still pressed between the lid and the seal. I have carried it for 11 years. It has waited longer than I have. I step forward. The obsidian moat is cold beneath my feet, colder than the seat, colder than the air. My reflection follows me across the black glass. It does not look small anymore. It looks like a woman who has finished counting. I reach the central dais, the place where Korvek stood when he announced the denial, the place where the Irk spokesperson projected the result, the place where 312 species laughed at the idea that humans could be anything other than cowards. I place the empty thermos on the dais. The sound is small, a click like the one that opened this story. But in this chamber, small sounds travel farther than speeches. Inside the thermos, wrapped in thermal insulation, is a data chip. I do not remove it yet. I want them to see the thermos first. I want them to remember the woman who sat in the sunken chair for 67 minutes, drinking tea, saying nothing, while they laughed. I turn to face the balconies. 847 counselors, 312 species, all of them waiting, all of them silent. I speak. You called us cowards. My voice is quiet. I do not raise it. I do not need to. The acoustics of the chamber, built 9,000 years ago to amplify whispers from above, carry my words perfectly. The Vor knew what they were doing. They just never imagined someone like me would use it. We called you neighbors. I pause. I look at the young aide. The child is frozen, its crest feathers flat, its eyes wide. It is 30 years old. Old enough to understand, young enough to remember. It will remember this moment for the rest of its life. It will tell its children. It will tell its children's children. Both of us were wrong. Then I smile, not triumphant, not cruel. The smile of someone who has finally stopped waiting. I remove the data chip from the thermos. It is small, smaller than my thumbnail. It holds 847 names. The Proxima colonists. The ones who died in the unfortunate navigation accident 23 years ago. The accident was ruled pilot error. The pilot was promoted. The names were never read aloud. The council declared the matter closed. The families were told to accept the ruling. The families were told to be grateful for the compensation. But the chip holds more than Proxima victims. It holds 12 more names. The 12 long patience operatives who died of old age during the operation. Tenzin's wife, who never knew why her husband spent his evenings feeding ducks. Tanaka's mentor, who taught her to read between the lines of council records. Voss's daughter, who never knew why her father disappeared for 11 years. And one more name, the name I do not speak, the name I count to every night, the name on the copper bracelet. Aisha Voss, age 7, Proxima Colony. I do not say her name aloud. Not yet. I hold it. I have held it for 23 years. I can hold it a little longer. I insert the chip into the central dais display port. The chamber's main screen, still showing the redacted histories, flickers. Then it changes. The 847 names appear, one by one. White text on black background, simple, direct. No embellishment, no ceremony, just names. The first name is not Aisha. The first name is a methane breather, a colonist from the Irk methane tiers who died in a council labor camp 400 years ago. The camp was erased from the records. The colonist was erased from the records, but Irk 7 kept the name. The second name is a silicon-based lifeform, a non-sentient tool that was dismantled for refusing to process council voting data. The dismantling was recorded as routine maintenance, but Tanaka found the original file. The third name is a Kethvari, not from the high flock, from the lower castes, a worker who questioned the filing of beaks. The worker was re-educated. The re-education was fatal. The record was erased. Name after name, species after species, century after century. The council chamber is silent. No laughter, no whispers, no sounds from 6 vocal chambers, just the quiet scroll of names on a screen that was built to hide them. I look at Korvek. His crest feathers are still flat. His harmonizer is silent. His platinum-capped talons grip the balcony rail so tightly that the metal bends. I can see it from here. The rail is deforming under his grip. He knows. He knows that every name on that screen is a name his species erased. He knows that his own ancestors are among them. He knows that the power he has wielded for 147 years was built on the bones of the forgotten. And he knows that I know. The names take 4 minutes to read. The display scrolls slowly, deliberately, each name given its own moment, each name given its own silence. I do not read them aloud. The display does that. I simply stand beside the dais, my hand resting on the cold thermos, and I watch. I watch the methane breathers in the tiers go still as they see their own dead remembered. I watch the silicon lifeforms flicker with what might be grief, if they had been allowed to learn what grief was. I watch the Kethvari delegation, all of them, every single one, flatten their crest feathers in unison as they see their own erased history scroll before them. The young aide is crying. Kethvari do not cry like humans. Their eyes secrete a thin film that hardens into resin, but I know grief when I see it. I have been practicing grief for 11 years. The child will remember this. The child will grow up. The child will lead the reform movement that erases the high flock and builds something new. I will not live to see it, but I do not need to see it. I only need to know that the child was here, that the child saw, that the child will remember. The last name appears. Aisha Voss, age 7, Proxima Colony. The screen holds on her name for 11 seconds. 1 second for each year I have waited. 1 second for each year she did not get to live. Then the screen goes dark. I press the dried jasmine flower into the obsidian moat. It does not float. It does not sink. It simply stays, a pale star on black glass, while 312 species learn what patience looks like when it stops waiting. The flower is brittle. It crumbles slightly under my fingers. The petals flake away, leaving a faint white mark on the obsidian. A ghost of summer. A ghost of Yunnan. A ghost of my daughter's hands in warm soil. I step back from the dais. The thermos remains. The flower remains. The data chip has been read. The names have been spoken. The long patience is over. But I know, as I walk toward the chamber doors, that the longer patience is only beginning. The council will vote again in 90 days. The outcome is already certain, not because humanity threatened, not because we brought weapons, because 312 species are reading their own buried histories, forwarded by 47 non-council species who finally have a distribution channel that bypasses council censorship. Because a child on a balcony learned that its power was built on bones. Because an archivist who said nothing for 6 years finally spoke. Because a small woman with an empty thermos stood up and showed them what 11 years of silence can build. Korvek does not speak. His harmonizer is silent. His crest feathers are still flat. He will resign in 23 days. Not today. Today he is still arbiter. Today he still has his rank, his gold-dyed feathers, his platinum-capped talons. But he is already dead. Politically, his worldview has collapsed. The high flock will disown him. The reform movement will begin with the child who whispered on the balcony. But Korvek does not know this yet. He only knows that the room smells like bread, and that the bread was baked by a nun, and that the nun learned to bake from methane breathers, who learned from humans, who learned from grandmothers on a planet the council calls primitive. He knows that he has lost. He does not yet know how completely. I walk back across the obsidian moat. My reflection follows me. It does not look small anymore. The chamber doors are 12 meters away. I count my steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I do not look back. The doors open as I approach. They are heavy. They are old. They were built by the Vor like everything else in this chamber. But the maintenance worker who calibrated the sensors this morning was one of our 847 sleeper agents. The doors know my face. They open for me. I step through. The corridor beyond is narrow. The walls are pale stone. The air is cooler here. The ozone burn fades. I can smell something else. Something from outside. Fresh air. Real air. Earth air. I keep walking. The embassy courtyard is warm. The sun is setting over the city, casting long shadows across the duck pond. Tenzin is sitting on his usual bench, feeding bread crumbs to 11 ducks. He looks up as I approach. His face is lined. His hands are gnarled, but his eyes are bright. Did they understand? He asks. I sit beside him. The bench is wooden. It creaks under my weight. I have not sat on a wooden bench in 11 years. I have sat on cold alloy, on polished stone, on chairs built to humiliate me. I watch the ducks paddle through the pond water. One of them, the largest, has a crest of white feathers that looks almost like a Kithvari's plumage. Tenzin named it Kithvari. He named all of them after council species that have never been asked to dinner. No, I say, they did not understand. Tenzin nods. He throws another crumb. The duck named Kithvari snaps it up. But their children will, I say. Tenzin smiles. He reaches into a cloth bag beside him and pulls out a loaf of bread. Still warm. 67 degrees. Baked 11 minutes ago by Sister Maria Santos, returned from the methane colonies with a new recipe and 9 new friends. He breaks the loaf in half. He hands me a piece. The crust is golden. The inside is soft. It smells like yeast and warmth and something else. Something like home. The bread is a weapon, Tenzin says. The bread is a promise, I finish. We eat in silence. The ducks paddle, the sun sets. The jasmine flower back in the chamber stays pale on black glass. IRC 7 will die in 12 years. Content. Its archival codes will be the most famous leak in galactic history. The child on the balcony will grow up to lead a reform movement that reshapes the council. Korvek will resign in 23 days and live out his remaining years in obscurity, his name erased from the records he once controlled. The 847 names will be taught in schools, not as martyrs, as reminders. The long patience will become a case study in diplomatic schools. The thermos will sit in a museum. The jasmine flower will crumble to dust. But none of that matters now. What matters now is the bread, the ducks, the pond, the old man on the bench, the woman who finally stopped counting. I look at my copper bracelet. The green metal is warm now, warmed by the setting sun. My daughter welded this. She was 9. She wanted to be a diplomat. She wanted to sit in big rooms and make big decisions. She never got to, but I did, and I did it for her. I finish my bread, I stand. My knees do not ache anymore. Will you come back? Tenzin asks. I look at the embassy. The building is small. The walls are cracked, the roof leaks, but it is warm and it is ours. Yes, I say, but not tomorrow. The longer patience begins. I walk toward the embassy door. Behind me, Tenzin feeds the last crumb to the duck named Kithvari. The duck quacks. The sound is small, but in the quiet of the courtyard, small sounds travel farther than speeches. The bread cools on the stone bench. The ducks paddle through the pond. The jasmine flower stays pale on black glass. And somewhere in a chamber built to make humans small, 312 species are learning what happens when small things learn to wait. The longer patience begins. I remember the last time I saw Aisha. It was a Tuesday. She was wearing a blue dress with small white flowers. She had found a caterpillar in the garden and wanted to show it to me before I left for the spaceport. Mom, she said, holding the caterpillar in her small hands, do you think it knows it's going to be a butterfly? I was running late. The shuttle to the orbital station left in 45 minutes. I had a briefing on the Proxima negotiations. The council had agreed to hear our case. For the first time in 200 years, a human delegation would address the full assembly. I think it knows, I said, kneeling down to her level. The caterpillar was green and fat and completely ordinary, but Aisha's eyes made it look like the most important creature in the galaxy. "Then why does it crawl?" she asked. "If it knows it's going to fly, why doesn't it just wait?" I smiled. I kissed her forehead. I told her I would be back in 3 days. "Promise?" she asked. "Promise," I said. The Proxima accident happened 6 hours later. The Council trade vessel miscalculated atmospheric entry. The pilot was distracted by a maintenance alert. The alert was caused by a software glitch. The glitch was in code written by a human contractor. The contractor was never identified. 847 people died, including my daughter. The Council ruled it pilot error. The pilot was promoted to a desk job on Vosk Prime. The families were told to accept the ruling. The families were told to be grateful for the compensation. I did not accept the ruling. I did not accept the compensation. I accepted the tea plant that arrived in a diplomatic pouch 3 months later. It was from Yunnan. It was batch 847. It was sent by a woman I had never met, who wrote a note in a language I did not yet understand. "The mountain moves for those who wait," the note said. I planted the tea that afternoon. I have been waiting ever since. The embassy door opens. Sister Maria Santos steps out. Her habit is dusty from travel. Her hands are flour-stained. She has been baking since she returned from the methane colonies. "They ate it," she says. She is not smiling. Sister Maria does not smile when she reports. She smiles when she feeds ducks. All of it, every loaf. They asked for more. She is talking about the methane breather colonists, the ones she taught to bake, the ones who learned that humans do not only take, humans also give. "How many?" I ask. 9 colonies, she says. 12,000 families. They have declared independence from Council supply routes. They will only trade through human channels. I nod. This is not news. This is confirmation. Jin Wei's blog reported it 3 days ago. The coded signals have been clear. The duck named Irk has been eating well. "In the archives?" I ask. Sister Maria looks at me. Her eyes are tired. She is 67 years old. She has spent 9 years living among methane breathers, learning their social codes, teaching them to bake. She has not seen her family in 11 years. "Tanaka got the last code," she says. "Yesterday, at 3 in the morning. She sent it through the bread delivery network. The code was baked into a loaf of sourdough. I delivered it myself." "Is she alive?" I ask. Sister Maria does not answer immediately. She looks at the ducks. She looks at the pond. She looks at the sun setting behind the embassy walls. "I don't know," she says. "She was alive when she sent the code. She was alive when I delivered the bread. But the archives are dangerous. The Council does not like people who remember." I understand. We all understand. The long patience was built on the understanding that some of us would not survive, that some of us would be erased, like the names on the data chip, that some of us would become ghosts before we became history. "She knew the risk," I say. "She did," Sister Maria agrees. "She knew it when she took the assignment. She knew it when she spent 11 years reading redacted files in a methane breather archive. She knew it when she befriended Irk 7. She knew it when she sent the last code baked into a loaf of bread." Sister Maria pauses. She wipes her hands on her habit. The flour stains remain. "She said something before I left," Sister Maria says. "She said, 'Tell Selene the mountain has moved. Tell her I felt it shift.'" I close my eyes. The sun is warm on my face. The ducks are quacking. Tenzin is feeding bread crumbs. Sister Maria is standing beside me. Flour on her hands, dust on her habit, 9 years of patience in her voice. "The mountain has moved. I felt it too." Captain Voss arrives at dusk. He is 71 years old. His hair is white. His hands shake slightly. He has been advising independence movements for 11 years. He has not fired a weapon in 23. "The colonies are holding," he says. He sits on the bench beside Tenzin. The bench creaks under his weight. All 47 of them, they have food, they have medicine, they have human trade routes. The Council cannot starve them out. "And the military?" I ask. Voss looks at me. His eyes are the color of old steel. "The Council has 12 battle fleets. They could glass every colony in 48 hours. But they won't. Why not? Because we have 847 sleeper agents embedded in their infrastructure. Because we have 23 forged cultural assessments that shape how they see every non-martial species. Because we have 12,000 hours of recorded sessions that show exactly which counselors take bribes, which ones have secret families, which ones are afraid of their own shadows. Voss pauses. He reaches into his pocket and pulls out a small object. It is a stone, red sandstone, smooth and warm from his hand. Tanaka gave me this, he says. Before she went into the archives, she said it was from Earth, from a place called Daedalus. She said it would remind me why we wait. I take the stone. It is warm. It is smooth. It fits in my palm like it was made for my hand. She said the stone was from a colony that died, Voss continues. A colony that was erased. A colony that the council forgot. She said we wait so that no one else has to be forgotten. I close my fingers around the stone. It is warm. It is real. It is proof that memory survives. The mountain has moved, I say. Voss nods. It has, and it will keep moving, as long as we keep pushing. Dr. Osa arrives last. He is 54 years old. His papers on human neural fragility have been cited 4,000 times by council medical journals. Every citation is a lie. Every citation is a weapon. The medical subcommittee has called an emergency session, he says. He is standing by the pond watching the ducks. They want to review the fragility data. They think there might be errors. I look at him. There are errors, 23 of them deliberate. I know, Osai says. I wrote them, but the council doesn't know that. They think they found the errors themselves. They think they're being thorough. They think they're protecting their species from weak humans. He smiles. It is a small smile, a tired smile. A smile that has waited 11 years to appear. The irony, he says, is that the errors actually make humans look weaker than we are. The council has been preparing for a species that breaks under pressure. They have not been preparing for a species that waits. They have not been preparing for patience. I nod. This is the thesis. This is the truth. The council does not fear weapons. It fears being understood. What happens now? Osi asks. I look at the embassy. The building is small. The walls are cracked. The roof leaks, but it is warm and it is ours. Now, I say, we wait some more. The longer patience begins. The sun has set. The courtyard is dark. The ducks have gone to sleep in their coop beside the pond. Tenzin has gone inside. Sister Maria has gone to pray. Voss has gone to check on the colonies. Osa has gone to write more papers. I am alone on the bench. The bread is gone. The stone is in my pocket. The copper bracelet is on my wrist. I look up at the stars. They are different from the stars on Earth. The constellations are wrong. The light is older. The distances are greater. But the jasmine flower is still pale on black glass. The names are still spoken. The child is still watching. The archivist is still remembering. And somewhere, in a chamber built to make humans small, 312 species are learning what happens when small things learn to wait. I count to 847 one last time. Not because I need to, because I want to, because each number is a name, because each name is a life, because each life matters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. I stop at 20. I do not need to count anymore. The mountain has moved. The patience is over. The longer patience begins. I stand. My knees do not ache. I walk toward the embassy door. The light is on inside. Someone is baking bread. Someone is feeding ducks. Someone is waiting. I open the door. The warmth hits me first, then the smell. Yeast and flour and something else. Something like home. Tenzin is in the kitchen. Sister Maria is beside him. Voss is at the table. Osai is by the window looking at the stars. We saved you some bread, Tenzin says. I sit at the table. The bread is warm. The butter is soft. The tea is jasmine from batch 847, planted 11 years ago in Yunnan soil. I take a sip. It is 67 degrees. Perfect. The longer patience begins, I say. They nod. They understand. They have been waiting too. We eat in silence. The bread is good. The tea is good. The company is good. Outside, the ducks sleep, the pond is still, the stars are old, and somewhere, in a galaxy full of counselors and archivists and children who will grow up to change everything, a small woman with an empty thermos has finally stopped counting. The longer patience begins.